The Rithet Bog Conservation Society works closely with Saanich Parks, and there have been botanists, biologists, and other experts who have helped advise Saanich Parks on the ecology and management of the park, particularly the bog ecosystem. At present, there is a threat to songbirds and other birds and small mammals, including snakes, frogs, and even butterflies, from feral cats in the sanctuary. Feral cats are, as stated by Wikipedia, domesticated cat that has returned to the wild, or the offspring of such a cat, is distinguished from a stray cat, which is a pet cat that has been lost or abandoned. In many parts of the world, feral cats are descendants of domestic cats that were left behind by travelers. Because cats are not native to all parts of the world, feral cats can cause harm to local environments by preying on local species. This is especially true on islands, where feral cats have sometimes had a substantial deleterious effect on the local fauna. Sharon Hartwell of the Rithet Conservation Society.
Yeah, we've been working with Rithet Bog, the Conservation Society, for almost 20 years, and so we've got a bit of a perspective on the place. And it's only I think that maybe there's a cat right there up on the edge of the path. But about 5 years ago, we started to see a lot more feral cats, and they were obviously feral because they were poorly fed, and it was just an ad hoc observation by the people in our society and the volunteers like yourself that have been working. And then we got corroboration of this, some hard empirical evidence from a pair of scientists that have been working here for over 10 years on studying the song sparrow population at the bog. And they said that the feral cat population had increased phenomenally, and that they were active predators on the song sparrows. And these people, Dr. Leanna Zanette and Dr. Michael Clinchy, set up automated cameras on some of the nest sites that were turned on by motion, and they got video clips of cats eating song sparrow nestlings. And this was both, they got pictures of both feral cats and also domestic cats with collars on them. So they pursued it further, and they discovered that 28% of the predation on the song sparrows was coming from cats. And then we found out that there were people adjacent to the bog in several spots that were feeding the cats, and we were quite concerned about this because even though you feed cats, they will still hunt. And then on investigating further, we found out that there were at least 2 people that were actively involved in trying to help the feral cats there, because they felt badly that these cats came because they were abandoned by people. They eat small mammals and snakes and dragonflies and butterflies, all that kind of thing. They're natural-born hunters, and they will continue to hunt even when they're well-fed. So they're sometimes referred to as subsidized predators. A sensitive ecological area like Rithet Bog, which is an island of natural habitat, they put tremendous pressure on the animals, the wildlife that's there, and they upset the natural predator-prey balance. So what Saanich is doing is investigating to see if any of the existing bylaws can be used to stipulate that these colonies not be established next to a natural area, or that there are various things. They don't know how the wildlife law applies, or some of the feral animal laws apply. Rabbits, for instance, have been in the past a problem here, but they've been under control. Amongst other things, they've been trapped and released, taken to sanctuaries. There seem to be too many cats to do that. They keep multiplying, but trapping and spaying and neutering have done a tremendous service. There would be hundreds of them if they hadn't got rid of those 64. But there are still a lot here that are trapping, that are continuing to hunt. And there's a vacuum effect sometimes where if you remove cats, more come in. So the people doing trap, neuter, release argue that by having neutered cats on the ground, they prevent other cats from coming in, because these neutered cats are territorial. But there's quite a bit of scientific evidence to the contrary, that because the cats are fed and content, they don't care if more cats come in as long as they also are fed and they don't have to compete for the food. What we want is to protect the natural predator-prey balance and move our whole ecosystem here towards a natural situation where there are no unnatural predators. Of what the trap, neuter, release people are working towards, we'd like to support as well, because for both of us, we want to get the cats out of this area. They want them to be cared for, and we'd like them to be away from here and preferably cared for as well. So we would like to work together with some of the cat welfare organizations to urge municipalities to pass bylaws or regulations so that cats must be neutered or spayed. They can't be sold without being neutered or spayed, and that they have to have licenses so they can be tracked just like dogs can, and that ultimately there are places like Calgary and quite a few other cities in North America where cats are not allowed to wander at will, like that one behind you. Organizations like ours would be happy to provide money for spaying and neutering if the cats were not released back in an ecologically sensitive area. They lead a short and brutal life. The average lifespan is 2 or 3 years or less. We'd like to see them out of here but taken care of, and so would the people who are doing the feeding and the trapping at great expense and putting a lot of their own time into it. They feed them, trap them, pay for the neutering, and unfortunately release them back, and that's the only part we object to.
Russ Pym of the Rithet Bog Conservation Society.
My opinion on the feral cats is that they're an invasive predator, and at Rithet Bog we're trying to maintain the balance of nature. We're trying to get the system back to its natural state as possible, and having an alien predator like that introduced to the system is very disruptive. The additional fact that these cats are being subsidized by being fed and given some medical attention means that it's very difficult for the native predators to compete with them, and also it's very difficult for the prey species to subsist with that kind of predation pressure on them. That the prey species have come to somewhat of an equilibrium with the various predators in the system, and when you add another predator, which is there's a cat. The fact that these animals are being both introduced into the system and they're being subsidized by outside influences means that they're very disruptive to the ecology of the bog. Feral cats are one of the invasive species. They're not the only one we're trying to eradicate. They're one of the main animal species. There have been feral rabbits on occasion that have been a problem here. Not currently. Certainly there are lots of invasive plant species that we're trying quite hard to get out of the bog and allow, the native vegetation to survive on its own and flourish. So it's part of the general, to me, it's part of the general principle behind having Rithet Bog Conservation Area, is that we are trying to exclude alien species from it as much as possible. There has to be some method of excluding them from the bog, whether that's relocating the colony or containing it. But I think generally domestic animals should probably not be allowed to roam at large in this kind of situation. That there has to be some kind of control over them, and right now there really isn't.
Vicky, local resident in the area.
Well, it's a big concern to me. I'm an animal lover, and as soon as I saw that there was a lot of cats in here, I started visiting them often, and I come in and I leave a little bit of food, which I know annoys people. I feel, there goes that cat right now. I feel, because if they've got a full tummy, they're less likely to hunt the birds. I know some people might disagree, but I'm just very passionate about this and getting homes for them.
In closing, I can't help but wonder when and will the municipality of Saanich change their bylaws regarding feral cats and even other domesticated animals, for that matter, that have been abandoned or lost.